welcome to the stream. Sorry for the technical difficulties. This is a learning experience for everybody involved. Which thank you everybody who's been following and supporting the streams, D&D, call off my sanity and the Taboo podcast. I really appreciate all of you. Like I can't believe so many people have been following right off the bat. But
it's pretty great, to be honest.
I have friends who are like, oh, it took me months or like a year, up to like a year or two to get people like enough viewers to start becoming an affiliate and partners and stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been on this ship for what, like a month?
Yeah, something like that.
So I'd be nothing without you guys. Thank you so much. Not that I'm anything yet, but we're getting there.
Yes.
All right, let's get started. Like, first of all, I would like to introduce you to a very long time friend of mine. This is Axel, aka Alex. We've been friends
Hey, guys.
online for almost 10 years, and he's good people. So I brought him on the cast, talk with me, and later on, we are in about like 10, 15 minutes ish. We're gonna be interviewing a very new good friend of mine named Ethan, who is, I'm told, the champion of the O limits with the DCW, which is like a bunch of wrestling jargon I know nothing about. So I know you, Axel, don't know shit about wrestling either.
Hardly. I know some things. I mean, enough to know that in the late '90s, The Rock was all the craze, and China and all them. But that's the extent of my knowledge.
I have a old school Playboy. I'm not sure if you consider it old school, from like the 90s, that has a spread of China.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Which that woman
Actually,
has
I might
more
have seen that
muscles
same one.
than any
Yeah, actually.
man I've ever dated in my life.
No. I know you remember Red, and I used to hang out with him a bunch at his house, and dude, he would have those posters plastered up everywhere. So yeah, I knew who they were. if only because of the swimsuit, posters that he had up on his wall.
Oh, what was the other one? Trish, right?
Yeah, I remember her, yeah.
But God, how often I say we could have a fucking drinking game.
Oh, freaking right.
So actually, guys who are watching, I've been trying to like set it up that we'll talk about current events in like the first half of the stream. Unfortunately, there's been a lot going on. Mainly, I want to give a shout out to our good friend Teddy, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday, man. We'll be seeing you later. For those of you who don't know him, he's Teddy High on Twitch, and I definitely suggest you give his channel a look. Great stuff. He has a podcast and gaming, and
definitely throw him a follow if you can. He's a good affiliate.
Well, but all right. So since we don't have anything else prepared, let's cut screens, get this set up, and start talking to my good buddy Ethan, great formidable drop your pocket extraordinaire.
Right. Checks, credit cards, cash. Before we started the show, I was letting the host know that my pronouns are PayPal or Venmo. So, I mean, well, hey, let's just go with it.
All right, cut into the video. There we go. Welcome to the podcast, Ethan.
Having me. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah.
Got the Discord control on the top of his cam.
So before we dive into the wrestling stuff, like I heard there's a whole congratulations in the order. You getting engaged and stuff?
Oh man, shoo, 3 seconds on the show and you already put me on the spot.
Hey, congratulations, brother.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hillary's an amazing person. Great partner. So I'm excited to build together with her.
That's good. That's great, man.
I'm excited for you guys too. So I'm not gonna keep you in your personal life though. I just wanted to Shout out to my girl.
No, it's okay. I mean, it was called Taboo, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you got a point. You got.
So, I don't really know too much about wrestling. How did you get involved in wrestling to begin with?
How I got involved? Well, I mean, I grew up a lifelong fan, really. I mean, since I was a little kid. The first time I went to a wrestling show, I'll put it this way: I always wanted to be a rock star, but I don't have a lick of musical talent. Uh, so the next best thing to me was professional wrestling. I went to a show. Wow, these larger than life personalities. Growing up as a kid, I loved superheroes, and here I am looking at uh, pretty much real life superheroes in action. Fell in love with it as a kid. Uh, as I got older, got taken into shows, got to get kind of see what's going on like behind the scenes before the show starts, and right then and there, I absolutely fell in love with what the business of professional wrestling was, and is to this day. Um, just I guess a lot of kids when they see, when they find out that magic that people are performing, magicians and such, or these illusionary acts, when they find out that it's just illusion, a lot of kids get turned off from magic. They're like, oh, it's fake, we don't want to watch it. Same thing with Santa Claus or what have you. It's kind of a turnoff for a lot of kids. When I found out what pro wrestling was, um, it actually drew me in because I was like, well, how are these guys doing this without killing each other? It made me even more fascinated with what it was, and I don't know. I kind of my whole life I was like, this is what I was born to do.
I think that's
Nice.
part of the fascination that people have with a lot of wrestling. I mean, being able to mess these other guys up and walk out the next match into the ring without showing many signs.
Um,
Right.
Um, Go
well,
ahead.
I was gonna ask, so like when you pull the curtain down, if you will. Sorry. Excuse me, guys.
Oh, she
So
froze on.
like if you oh shit. Oh, as long as it's running on mine, we're good. Because I can still see
You're
movement
good.
from
Rip.
everybody. So when you pull down the curtain, if you will, and you find out that like wrestling is what have you fake, it's not like it's not an actual like
Oh no, the
martial.
F word. We don't use the F word. No,
No, no,
no,
Sorry.
no. We don't use the
no,
F word.
no.
What
Jared
I
told me not to say that. You got to say choreograph. You got to say
Okay, it's
choreograph.
choreographed. Would
um,
you acute it
uh,
more
so
to
it's
a theater performance?
good. I mean, column A, column B. What we do in the ring is very impactful. We lay our shots in. I don't want anybody walking away from one of my matches being like, oh, that looked like crap. Um, there could be a little 5-year old in that crowd. Any age kid in that crowd and see somebody whiff a punch or see somebody miss something, and then be like, oh, and now you just exposed the business. Now that little kid doesn't ever want to come back to a wrestling
Uh,
match ever again. You just hurt the
Yeah.
business by exposing it.
son of
So I any of my matches, work snug, especially in smaller venues. It's a lot harder to hide what we do in a smaller and more intimate setting. So in those settings, you have to even lay your shots in even harder, to make it come across more believable of what we're doing in there.
Yeah, because it is a form of entertainment, and
Oh,
that's the thing. I mean,
absolutely.
Well, that's
yeah,
kind of what
yeah.
I
I
meant.
mean, and
I meant to get at is that I was asking if it's if in your perspective as somebody who does it, is it more of like a theater? Like, do you practice before your
It's
matches, like to just or is it like
um
winging it and just like a common
okay. Okay,
understanding?
so I mean, I've been in several different scenarios where I've worked in companies that you have a lot of freedom. You come in there and the promoter will say, hey, you know what? You're working with so and so tonight. You guys just go out there and have a blast. And they might say, we want so and so to go over. We want so and so to win in the match. Um, And I've been in companies. It's more professionally ran, more scripting, more cues to do things. Which I mean, that's WXW in Florida, World Extreme Wrestling. That's ran by Alpha the Wild Samoan, famous Wild Samoan lineage. The famous of the Wild Samoan of the Samoan dynasty is The Rock.
Yeah.
The Alpha is his uncle. So Alpha runs his grooming kids for WWE opportunities and opportunities in other companies like AEW, which is also another big for people that don't know wrestling, is also another big show on major cable television. That's kind of the competition to WWE currently.
Yeah.
So he's grooming people for that style. He's grooming you for TV. So when you go in there, you have your, okay, you're gonna do X, Y, and Z at this point, or after the match when you come back, you're gonna talk into we say cutting a promo means you're gonna, talk into the camera, and sell what we just did in the ring or what we're gonna do in the ring. Um, so yeah, it's there is a lot of heavy theater aspect on as far as choreographing in a more higher end companies. Smaller companies, I've had just full freedoms. I mean, it's a little bit of both, as you were asking. It depends on the company and how they run
All right.
their business.
I
Okay.
suppose it switches depending on, but
I prefer
so
more direction personally.
um
Okay. So
kind of stepping away from your own personal experience, but into like more of like a generalized what about like steroid use and drug use with wrestlers? I know like in other sports that's a huge taboo, and but
Go
wrestling
deep.
being kind of
It's
unique as a sport, um
yeah, yeah. I mean, so in the mid 2000s, of a lot of wrestlers dying, a lot of big name wrestlers just dropping dead left and right, and it's such a travesty and tragedy, but kind of forced spotlight on the professional wrestling industry that I guess it didn't want, but it needed. The industry
yeah.
needed to be cleaned up. Um, I've heard I've heard all kinds of stories about parties afterwards and such, and they're legendary. Like I said, I wanted to be a wrestler for the rock star lifestyle. I wanted to be that rock star that I couldn't be because I just have no musical talent.
I mean,
uh, performing is where my heart is. So like uh, going to ECW shows, late '90s, going to the hotels afterwards, seeing these guys, get how they get down. It was just like, man, I want to live this. I want this lifestyle. Now it's completely different because of all the deaths in wrestling and the drugs. Steroids, that's definitely a thing. In wrestling, it's for a long time, sports is like a regulated thing, right? People bet money on it and all this stuff. So you can't really have people having unfair advantages in sports. That's why, like, pretty much
Is
steroid that, and you also, you want your athletes to be healthy as well,
yeah,
and
of
steroids
course.
wreck your body. So
Is that something that is like tested for?
it is, and it always
Okay.
has been. But I guess back in the day, it was a little lighter than it is now.
Yeah. Because
As
like I
far
mean
as
if you ask me, it's still a sport. I mean it requires a certain, talent for it.
yeah, it's well, I mean, yeah, wrestling is definitely athletic exhibition. It's a live action
Mhm.
stunt show for your entertainment. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, taking steroids really doesn't give anybody an unfair advantage, other than they might be a little stronger than the next guy. But in a sport where the guy's jumping for me, yes, strength is a thing. You definitely need strength in this sport. Um, but it's more so for you want to look bigger and better than the next guy. You want to
Yeah,
be
yeah, because
you want that
appearance is a big
stereotypical look.
yeah.
the
Yeah, I
industry
mean
is
that makes sense.
so
Part of the
it's such an
image.
aesthetic. It's such an aesthetic industry.
Hmm.
Hulk Hogan, call it what it is. He was not really the best technical wrestler ever. But he looked like $1,000,000.
Yeah.
So
So that's something that I wanna touch on. Is a wrestler's image. I mean, is it partially cultivated by someone to help with the marketing, or is it their own creation sort of thing?
I mean, my gimmick, my character is just really an extension of me, of who I am. You can ask. Vix has been hung out with me many a times. I'm pretty much a character myself. Uh, I take the volume and turn it way up on my personality when I hit that curtain.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, their look, their image. When you get into bigger companies, you might get assigned a different character, a different gimmick. It works for some guys. It doesn't work for some other guys. Um,
Yeah.
if you make a big enough name on what we call the independent scene, where I wrestle on, and in Japan and other countries, and then you get signed to a TV company, you might be able to keep your name and gimmick, and your look and everything. Where the big muscly look comes from, I mean, I couldn't tell you. One of the guys that helped with my training, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, he always said, look, his thing was, he wanted he for his look, his gimmick, um, your goal should be, you should be the guy that everybody wants to be, all the guys want to be, and the guy that
I'm sorry, Ethan, you
you
cut out
create.
there for
I'm
a
sorry.
second.
Oh no.
So if you could
Hello,
just
can you
just
hear me?
repeat what you just said.
Can you
The
hear me?
guy
We're
wants
good.
to be. Yeah.
Okay, so like, he has this cool guy character, and for a baby face, because the business revolves around good and evil for your storylines. You have to have your good guy, you have to have your bad guy. For a baby face role, a baby face character, you want to be, create a character that all the guys want to be like, all the girls want to be with.
Yeah.
If that
The
make that
hero.
character, you make that character, and then you put that up, up against a mighty heel. I
Yeah.
think I'm going off the rails here, but you're going to sell tickets.
Um,
So
well, I
I
have.
guess that goes back to image. You look at Hulk Hogan, man. You look at those top guys in the industry. Uh, that's why they look the way they look, is to sell tickets, is to put.
Well,
At the end of the day, it's about putting asses in the seats.
well,
Yeah. Yeah.
when I was doing a lot of my homework for this podcast, because like I said, I don't know anything about wrestling, and like I had done a little bit of research, and something that repetitively seemed to come up, and I tried to keep it like my research kind of open and look at different sides of it. But one thing that like seemed to come up, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement right now, is the fact that there aren't a lot of faces for black wrestlers, and I think The Rock is probably the only one that I know, and he's kind of very mixed. And then also female representation, up until I think recently, aside from China and Trish, wasn't really a thing for the longest time. Do you think that plays into kind of like the? Do you think that's like a just a lack of representation, or do you think that would might have been intentional in the wrestling world?
Um, woo! Talk about the hot seat. So
Trying to put you in the place right there.
no, it's all good, man. I like talking about stuff like this and bouncing ideas off other people, and that's how we get better at things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's true, man. WWE has had a lack of black champions. A lot of the major promotions over the years have had um, lacking in black champions. The first heavyweight world champion that was black is a guy named Ron Simmons. Um, I'm not sure the year on that. I mean, I'm not a major historian like that. If it was the early 80s. Growing up as a kid, man, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time was JYD, Junkyard Dog. Um, and he was arguably as popular as Hulk Hogan in the South. In the South, JYD would sell out huge houses. Thousands and thousands of people would come out for anywhere he was booked. Recently, there's been a movement in WWE where you've seen a lot more black performers getting more opportunities, which I think is phenomenal. It's great. I don't know why it hasn't been a thing. Um, uh, Last year, I guess it was 2 years ago now. Man, 2 years are flying by now. When I went to WrestleMania in New York, Kofi Kingston headline Mania. As a black performer, that's something that WrestleMania, if you don't know, Vix, that's like Super Bowl of our industry. So
I've heard of it once in a while.
for somebody of that's black to headline it, that's hasn't I don't man. I guess going back to when Bam Bam Bigelow wrestled LT Lawrence Taylor. Anyway, I'm gonna start thinking about wrestling. It stuck in my head, but anyway.
Okay, so
do you think?
To
Do you think?
me, I was like, when I was there in person, I was watching it, and I was like, wow, this is like history. This is dope. To see this new progression in WWE. I mean, WWE has always been a mirror for society. They mirror what's going on in society. So to see the women's evolution come along in women's wrestling, I mean, there's amazing women wrestlers out there, better than myself, better than a lot of men.
Yeah.
And it's no longer all about just TNA and tits and ass and brawn matches. And look, as a year old prepubescent boy, I loved it.
Well, yeah, of course.
But times change, and
Yeah.
seeing women get to headline pay-per-views and sell out arenas, that's dope.
Building off of that, what do you think about Rousey joining the ring?
I'm a huge Rousey fan, so
Yeah.
anything, and she's like a good person. She, so to bring what she brings as far as media attention and spotlight, I think is a great thing for our matches. I think she did great in the ring, man. She did good. I know she's like taking a break now, or she chose mom life or some shit like that. But I thought she did great in the ring. She looked good.
Oh, birthday boy just chimed in on the chat. Happy birthday, Teddy!
Happy birthday, Teddy!
Happy birthday, Teddy!
Mm.
Pretty good shout out right there. Okay, so I want to ask. So growing up, and seeing the wrestling scene, being introduced into it, who were some of your idols? Who did you look up to back then? And as you grew, how did that evolve?
I love this question. Because growing up as all my friends, they're like, "Oh, we love Hulk Hogan," or
Of course,
"Love the Ultimate Warrior," and I'm just like, I like Tatanka.
Okay.
I don't even know.
He was a Native American
that.
wrestler.
Oh, nice.
And he was like a mid card guy. He was never a top guy, but he had one of the longest undefeated streaks ever in WWE history. So that's saying something, even though he wasn't headlining pay-per-views per se. But I don't know. I heard when I heard his war cry hit at the beginning of his music as a little kid, man, I would just, if I was at home or if I was at the arena at a show, I would just jump out of my seat and freak out because Tatanka was my dude.
There you go.
As being the baby child in my family, I started identifying probably like around 9 or 10 with Owen Hart, who was in a storyline at that time with his brother, and he was the baby brother, and it was like brother versus brother. And I've never liked good guy, Boy Scout type characters like Captain America or Superman, or I'm a big X-Man fan, or Cyclops. But I never liked the Boy Scout characters, so I like my heroes to have a little grit to them.
Did you do you like study different types of like wrestling, like I don't know, like judo and uh
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Like, what is it
I
based
don't
in
have
anything?
any. I mean, I don't have any personally. I never had any like collegiate wrestling training or anything in high school. Like I didn't wrestle in high school or anything. I got in a lot of fights as a kid.
That's
That tough.
training right there, dude.
I mean, that toughened me up a bit. I had a big mouth, still do. Um,
That's where the appeal comes from.
but my mouth got me in trouble a lot as a kid. You know, sometimes I backed it up, sometimes I didn't. But I didn't do any collegiate training, no. Um,
Okay.
but I mean, for as far as like professional wrestling, though, yeah, I mean, I train. You know, I still train. You have to continue training, just like any kind of sport or athlete. Continue the upkeep of your body. Um,
Yeah.
but as far as like training, I went to started training with a company I currently wrestle for. I am the current DCW No Limits champion for Dynamite Championship Wrestling. That's actually where I got my start back in 2004. I
Mhm.
started training there, trained there for a little bit, ended up moving to Florida, continued my training in Florida for like another year and a half. Florida Extreme Wrestling. Was trained by Bam Bam Mancuso there. Really good people. Met some of my best friends in wrestling um, through that school, and came up with one of my best friends in wrestling, Brian Lortz. He wrestles as Brian Maddox.
Mhm.
Trained together there for years on years, and then after that, wherever I could get an opportunity to train, I would just jump in there. But life was really uncertain then, so I was bouncing around a lot of places. But in that meantime, I got some finer training from Scott Hall, WWE Hall of Famer, and ended up wrestling for WXW. So getting
Nice.
all that
Damn.
info and training and knowledge, being able to sit on knowledge WXW and off of the Wild
Mhm.
Samoan and everybody he has in that company and guys that are coming through, and also at the same time sitting under the learning tree of Scott Hall. I learned so much in those short. I mean, I guess it was like felt like it flew by looking back at it. Um,
Have you
uh,
noticed your style with fighting in the ring like change over the years? Like you started
oh,
off with,
absolutely.
okay.
So in wrestling, you use psychology to tell a story in the ring. It's what we do. What we do as professional wrestlers is sell emotion.
Hmm.
So when I first started in the ring, I just want to do all these cool, flashy moves and be this high flying wrestler and ooh and ah the crowd with all my moves.
Of course.
Uh, when that 3 count happened, people don't really care about the match because you weren't really telling a story. You were just going out there and doing a bunch of stunts.
Yeah.
Um, Also, like you're killing your body doing all that stuff too. It's
Mm.
cool every once in a while, but doing it all the time, man, like you're killing your body. It's rough on you in wrestling. It's not as fake as people think as far as uh, the impacts go.
What kind of
So
school
over
is
the
it?
years, my style has definitely changed from where I was a lot more faster, younger. I was just like, just go, 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 go in the ring. Um, and more impactful, really just like taking unnecessary bumps. Bump is like when you take a slam or a fall.
Mhm.
Um, so like taking unnecessary bumps. And then it wasn't until, I kind of gotten under Scott Hall's tutelage and he was like, bro, why are you like killing your body? Like, I already love you. Slow it down. So, I started listening to him and, grab a hold, start selling to the crowd, use your facial expressions and features. The camera loves this. This is what sells your emotion. So going back to reference to the Hulk Hogan, he really couldn't wrestle, but man, he could grab a headlock, would go crazy, you know.
Right.
So you're working those guys when they're working on the road 300 days a year, man. out, you really have to take care of your body because your body will break
Yeah.
down quick.
Have
And
you have
So
on
you
that
ever
note,
had?
I think
Sorry,
no. I was just gonna say, on that note, I think Vix had a pretty pertinent question regarding that.
regarding
Go
uh
ahead. I
like
just whether or not
injuries.
like yeah,
Oh, so I was gonna ask, like, what's the worst injury you've had or, heard of people getting? Because, like, I really didn't realize, like, how because there's, like, this
um
mixed thing of
in
it
the
being theater and show, and I'd never realized that, like, somebody might actually get, like, seriously
I'm stretching
injured.
out my sore muscles right now. Um uh so like the worst injury I've ever heard of in wrestling, I mean people die. People have died doing that's why we
Really?
train. Oh yeah, people have died in the ring, man. Like on TV, people have died. People have broken their necks on TV. You take one bad bump, you land the wrong way, man. You land on your head, your whole head goes back or goes down. You can snap your neck.
yeah.
You can accidentally drop a guy and snap his neck.
I mean, it is because it is dangerous. I mean,
Oh, I mean, wrestling, it's not ballet. It's really not.
no, it's a lot more hard hitting. I mean, there are
I
some similarities, I would imagine, where in the choreographing comes into play. But I mean, this is people are
mean,
doing damage to each other.
yeah, for the sake of entertainment, ain't it
Yeah,
grand?
I mean, it's always been a form of entertainment. You guys are the new gladiators from ancient Rome. Come on, you put
Well,
on a
they
I think
spectacle.
actually
MMA has taken that role. MMA is definitely taking that role. But before we get side railed, Vix had asked my injuries. I've gotten all your bruises, bumps, scrapes, contusions. Um, I've never like broken a bone. I do think I broke a toe, but I never got it X-rayed. So,
Oof. I think most of us have
um,
been there,
but I
just
have I
from
have gotten.
furniture, rather.
Say I haven't had any major injuries, but as studies are coming out on concussions, we're finding out that concussions are a lot more dangerous than we ever thought before. And I've definitely gotten my bell rung
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Um, and who's to say that if that's not going to cause me, damage, some kind of brain damage later on down the road in my life?
Mhm.
Studies are starting to say yes, it is going to cause brain damage later on down the road from
Mhm.
major concussions. All the CTE scans and stuff. I guess that's a big taboo subject in wrestling too, because in the '90s, guys were working injured. Guys, you get a concussion the night before, you're out in the ring the next night. Um,
Well, yeah.
uh, Several wrestlers that have been fired have tried suing WWE for uh, unsafe working conditions, which I think is kind of funny
That's
because it's
it's kind of
professional
silly.
wrestling.
Yeah, you go into it, you kind of expect, hey, this is what I'm gonna have to deal with.
but
Right,
on
right.
the same account,
At the
like,
same time, though, you gotta like still take care of your racehorses. Like
Yeah.
you still take care of the guys that are making you money. In the
yeah, that's what
'80s,
I was
Jesse
about to
Ventura
say.
of government fame that became the governor of Minnesota, he tried to yes get a union going in wrestling, and
Wow.
as legend has it, Hulk Hogan was like, "Oh, I'm with you, brother." 'Cause at the time, Hulk's the guy. So he has the
Yeah.
most stroke. Um, and I guess like he told Jesse back all this, that, and the other. But really, if a union came, that would have Hogan's bottom line big time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So the minute they got in the public eye, Hogan completely went the other direction. He was gonna back him on the union thing.
There was
And
probably a
that was
lot
like a
more
big
going on
taboo
in
thing. That was
the
like, oh shit, like I can't like wrestling's very political like that. It can be very political like that.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, I'm sure, like, even just sitting here right now and thinking about, like, how you would even go about unionizing or, like, when you voluntarily get into a contact sport, like, how do you even unionize against certain kind of injuries when you're basically volunteering to
I
do it
mean,
as part of your job?
yeah, I mean, pro wrestling doesn't have an off season. It just
Mhm.
keeps going. It just guys don't have time to rest. And that's really, it wasn't really a unionizing for money thing. It was like they have to pay. So when you're in WWE, you're not an employee. You're 1099. You're a subcontractor.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so you have to pay for all your own insurance and everything.
Wow.
Oh, that's really interesting. I wasn't aware of
Yeah,
that.
so yeah. So a lot of the wrestlers. So I mean, you get paid great money to be able to take care of yourself and do all these things, and
Mhm.
and your travel expenses and all that. But yeah, those guys, they're not employees or anything of WWE. Yeah, you're considered a contractor.
Okay, that's
I,
interesting.
I could
So on
definitely
on that
see.
note,
Oh, I was just gonna say I
yeah,
can
I just
definitely see why, like, at least in like the long term effects, like especially ex wrestlers who like go home, start families, do whatever they do with their lives after wrestling, and then find out that they have some kind of like severe brain damage or something. Like I could see that coming back
Right?
full circle. But as far
Exactly,
as
exactly.
like small injuries and things like that, for the amount
I
of
mean,
money they make and
now, man,
going in knowing it, I don't know
the
how I feel. I feel like I need
WWE
more
has
info.
improved their business model drastically. They have their own, performance center in Orlando with like state of the art medical center, and like they don't let guys work injured at all. Like guys are always undergoing, tests and things. If they even think you have a concussion, I mean, they'll stop your match in the middle of television.
oh wow.
Um, yeah, so like they're really on this, and you have to be in 2020, and they're now a publicly. So, I mean, you kind of
What?
have to be in 2020. You got to be on your best behavior and all your P's and
Mhm.
Q's.
So
I'm
I had a question building off of the oh gosh, I forget what, but essentially so I have a coworker who he's a member of mine and Vix's personal server. Um he's always telling me, like how WWE and the mainstream wrestling circuit is handling the current events in 2020 with COVID and BLM and all that.
Yeah,
Um, how would you say well DCW or just the independent circuit is handling the coronavirus and the spread of all that?
there wasn't one.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, so WWE, they weren't touring. So they had their performance center in Orlando, so they just moved their whole production indoors into one building, and were just
Mhm.
doing TV shows out of that with no fans, which for me it was really really weird.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that's how I see it too. It just I mean
it's
for
hard for
a
me to watch, if I have
sport.
to be 100% honest. It's
Yeah, yeah.
really
I
hard
mean,
for
and
me to
I
watch with
would be
no
the same
fans.
way. I would be the same
It,
way because for a sport that is derived from the energy that you pull from the fans you see in the
yeah,
stadium,
everything we do in the ring is to elicit a response.
yeah, and you don't get that from cardboard cutouts or video Zoom calls.
Yeah, not at all. So it's really weird. Now, um, have the Thunderdome thing. It's a bunch of like webcams all around the ring.
Yeah, like a big Zoom call.
Yeah, it's there were some taboo subjects touched on, and with that thing, they had, I think the first night they had people putting up all kinds of stuff that shouldn't be on the screen.
Oh
That,
no.
especially a publicly traded company don't want on their screens at all. Most notably, the Chris Benoit in like the front row watching the match.
Oof.
Somebody just had a picture up of Benoit, who's a big taboo subject in WWE because
Well,
they completely erased him.
who is that? Because I know you
So Chris
mentioned him before we
Benoit,
started, and I'm like, I
yeah,
have no idea who the hell you were talking
Yeah.
about.
so
Semi familiar with what happened.
Chris Benoit was a big name wrestler there in the mid early 2000s, is really when he ascended to the peak of his career. And for some rhyme or reason, one weekend at his house in Georgia, it was deemed that he killed his wife, son, and then himself. So like he had a paper. He was supposed to headline a pay-per-view that Sunday. WWE's calling him like, where is he? Like this is very
Yeah.
unlike him. And cops go to the house. They found the scene. Originally it was they thought all three got murdered. So very next night, WWE did this big tribute for him, and everybody's crying. And then like the very next day, the cops deem it a murder suicide. WWE is like, oops, celebrated this guy. But with that being said, with it being murder suicide, they completely erased him. Like they have their app, the WWE Network, that has like their whole video library on there. You can't find his matches. Anything that's WWE, they've completely edited him out and erased him from their universe. So he's a huge taboo subject when it concerning WWE. So for somebody to get on camera and put a Chris Benoit picture up, pretty much right in the front row a few weeks ago, that was like, if we're talking about taboo things, that was like,
That
I
is
looked at that
part
and
of
I was
the
like,
internet.
I can't believe that got through on television. I can't believe
Yeah.
the production truck didn't kill that feed or something. But I think
mean, well,
now they've
that's
gotten a
part
lot
of the
better.
internet.
That was brand new. That was like the first night I had it up and we're running.
So with that in mind, have you seen any instances where the wrestling scene, whether it be independent or mainstream with WWE, how have they handled any form of mental illness within their wrestling?
Man, absent. As far as like on a company scale, from I've never seen like, any initial like companies coming forward and helping with mental illness things. The boys, even though as competitive as wrestling is, everybody wants to be the top guy. Everybody wants to be in that spot. There's still a general camaraderie amongst the wrestlers, and a lot
Would
of
you
guys
say that
have
it's a
support networks and structures, and
yeah?
I think a lot of the wrestlers level rely on other wrestlers and friends they make in the business along the way.
That's kind of what I was going to lead on to next, is if you guys have formed your own form of support structure with each other.
I mean, absolutely. I know when I was wrestling like every weekend. I mean, I've taken less bookings now, and with COVID, DCW we haven't ran in I guess coming up in a few months shy of a WWE. I just got a message today that our October show is canceled now because Delaware is not allowing.
Oh,
wow. And I haven't wrestled. I mean, last time I wrestled with them was in February, right before everything went sideways.
Wow. That's rough.
Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of went sideways. I forgot where I was. What was the initial question?
It's cool. I was gonna kind of build off of Axel's question about the communities and things, and I
Oh,
just
that's right. That's right.
totally lost my train of thought. Fuck. I should have wrote it down.
It's contagious.
Whoops.
Oh man, stop spreading the brain farts, guys.
I'm doing my best. Okay. So, do you mind if I build on another question while you try and regain it?
I remember it. I remember it now.
Go.
I was gonna ask if some of the like rivalries and things going on that we see on TV, or those of us who thanks Teddy, but those of us who what even those of us who aren't like big fans of wrestling, but we still like see like a lot of the competitiveness on the screen. Do you think that ever translates off screen? Like, do some of these people is it all just a show, or do some of these people actually like
I mean,
really not get along?
there's definitely been instances of guys not getting along. So what we call for like fake stuff or like it's a work in wrestling. Like wrestling is a work. We work people. So there's a term where guys have worked them. So shoot. before I even get to that term, shoot means like to reel. Like if somebody shoots on me and they're actually throwing legit punches on me,
Oh
they're
wow.
it becomes real. And that happens. Um, so sometimes guys get so into the storyline, will work themselves into a shoot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Pretty
kind of
much
you kind of
just
get
egg
lost in
someone
it.
on until like that's a legitimate, rivalry,
So
and those are real hits being
like
thrown.
legend has it that in the '90s, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, that's what happened. Right before they started their storyline with each other, they kind of sat down. They were like, "Hey, can we? Are we okay? Are you okay if we take like some real shots at one another? Not like punches, but like verbal."
Yeah.
Like kind of pull the barrier back and talk a little bit about the performer behind the character and kind of expose it a little bit more realistic. So they
Try
both
and
agreed that
hit home a little bit to get a
yeah,
more illicit
the fans
reaction.
would be like, "Wow, these guys really don't like each."
Okay,
So
okay.
what would happen was they started digging too much and then really started not liking each other.
Oh, okay.
So they ended up
Wow.
working themselves into a shoot. So when they wrestled, their matches were incredible because they were trying to outdo one another, a little bit more impactful, and there was more energy. So wrestling's the only business when you're working with somebody that you don't like, you
Mhm.
make more money. Like, like
Yeah. I can
if you two can remain professional, the fans can pick up on that
Have there ever
energy
been
level of these
like
guys genuinely don't like each other, and then they buy into it. And once the fans buy into what you're selling, man, now you can move the emotion, you can move them around, you can take them on a journey.
so have
Um,
any of these
I've
like
been in.
shoots or gotten unprofessional where like something like it
Oh, I mean, yeah, there's
resulted
stories.
in someone like outside of the ring being like seriously injured by a competitor
Yeah, there's
or
stories, man. Guys have been stabbed. There's been I
Oh
mean, definitely
wow.
locker room fights. You get a bunch of jacked up dudes that have a bunch of egos, and they're all on God knows what or drunk or something. Like
but do
they're on the road
they get
300. They're on the
reprimanded?
road 300 days out of the year with each other. Brothers
Yeah.
are gonna
Are there
fight from
any like
time to time.
So do they
has
get
There's some legendary stories. Yeah. Bruiser Brody was a legendary wrestler in the '70s down in Puerto Rico. He got stabbed and died. He got murdered in the locker room. Um,
damn.
damn.
Sid Vicious, not the punk rock Sid Vicious,
I was about to say, wait a
Oh
second there.
yeah, right? Wait a
the
second.
professional wrestler, Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid. He he stabbed. As legend has it.
Oof.
Guys, yeah, guys have gotten in fights in locker rooms. Bret Hart punched his boss in the eye in the locker room when Vince screwed him over for the with the championship thing, the Montreal screw job, which was another big taboo subject. They pretty much the promoter, the owner of the company, went off script because it was the wrestler's last night. Thought the wrestler was going to fuck him first, and it played out all on live television. Yeah, that was like, whoa, like they really pulled down the veil on this one. Is it real? Is it not? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that was all another. No, it wasn't. Like that was a major thing, and that people are talking about 20 years later, and wrestling fans, are still talking about to this day.
Yeah. Vix, you had a question.
Um, I was gonna say, like, when this kind of shit goes down, or like people get injured outside of the ring, and it becomes a little, not a little, but becomes like definitely unprofessional. Are they like reprimanded in their work? Like, do they receive
Yes
some
and
kind
no.
of
Yes and no. So in the old school way of wrestling, the old school, the '70s, the '80s, and before that, like guys, hazing was a thing, and guys would get the shit kicked out of him in the ring for being disrespectful, and respect is a big thing in wrestling. You know, when you every show you're in, you know, every locker room you go around, you shake everybody's hand. Hi, how you doing? I'm Ethan. You know, you introduce yourself to everybody. You're very cordial to everybody. It's a professional environment.
It's a job. I mean, it's it's
But
gotta
you
be to something.
but you get bullies, just like in an industry, just like in anything. You have bullies. Um, you get guys that bully other people in wrestling. You also get kids that probably have no business playing as well, though.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, you kind of had your bullies get weed those guys out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you know they get in the ring and they get stiff. They get hit hard. You stretch them, put them in a submission move, but you really really cinch it in on them. Try to scare them out of the business, and then if they still stuck around after you beat the holy hell out of them, then you know what? Maybe they are worth it. Maybe we should teach them this industry. So that's the way it was back then. Nowadays, it's a lot different, guys. That wouldn't fly in any of the major promotions these days.
Okay.
Bullying just wouldn't be a thing. That wouldn't be tolerated because there's such a public eye now that they just can't risk it. So if you got somebody on your roster that's doing that and word gets out, there's going to be definitely consequences.
All right. Well, we're running quickly up on an hour here. Time really seems to fly when you get into the conversation. But
Right.
before we go,
Sure.
I had one more question I wanted to ask you.
So do
It's
I.
kind of okay. So I'm gonna go first.
Go for it.
um, along with the rise of MMA, which like in recent years has become like very popular, um, the mixed martial arts has like taken off in a way that like I feel like boxing was kind of dying and then MMA came up and do you feel like that's kind of like stole some of the light away from wrestling or that the two sports have become almost competitive or like wrestling's had to kind of step up its game now because like there's another major fighting sport capturing people's attention?
Um, I don't think WWE sees MMA as competition because it's something completely different
Yeah.
than what WWE is. Uh, WWE has no time has doesn't have a hard time selling their tickets, if you will. So MMA is not really stealing money out of their purse. What I have seen though, is I have seen a professional wrestling influence on MMA. You've seen a lot of wrestlers try to cross over into that world. The most successful one being Brock Lesnar. Um,
Oh, okay.
but even there, employing uh, theatrics to his stuff to kind of develop a persona to sell tickets. Man, at the end of the day, like even MMA, their goal is to sell, put asses in the seats. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what the end goal is as any form of entertainment. Um, so I've seen MMA adopt that. You've seen guys come in with large, like McGregor, man. Oh my God, he's a real life walking professional wrestler with just his
Yeah.
attitude, his swagger, and how he's a larger than life character. And that's all what professional wrestlers are. They're larger than life characters when they're in that character. So yeah, I've seen a lot of that borrowed WWE professional wrestling and MMA, but as far as like competition, I don't think they sweat MMA.
All right. Just curious because
It seems like a
Axel,
side by side thing.
What was your
Yeah, no,
question?
I wanted to touch on potentially what the future might hold for you. I mean, when we don't really know when things are going to start picking back up again after COVID. But when they do you have any maybe different plans for your persona in the ring or anything that your fans can look forward to when they see you going toe to toe with someone again?
Uh, I mean, I'm always gonna bring the fun. I always have fun in the ring, no matter what. I'm having fun. Um, As far as the future for DCW, I really don't know. Right now, DCW is on hold until December. Our October show got canceled. They traditionally don't do a November show.
Mhm.
The independent companies in the area are just now starting to run. So if I get in one of these other companies and start working for them, yeah, that'll be a thing. I'm waiting for Delaware to open up their guidelines. I might shoot down to Florida and do some stuff with WXW. That was supposed to happen before COVID.
And
And
WXW, like the next higher tier up, is what
so
you were
yeah,
saying.
they're more of a higher tier company. Yeah,
Okay.
they're definitely a feeding ground for WWE and other companies. They're one of the companies looked at.
Okay.
Yeah, I was supposed to go down to COVID. That all kind of went sideways because of COVID.
Of course.
As far as yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, it's kind of on hold right now, and it's driving me crazy.
Okay.
I can't
If
I can't wait to perform, man. It brings me so much genuine like happiness to
right.
perform that I'm just I'm chomping at the bit. I can't wait. When she was like, "You want to do this podcast?" I was like, "Absolutely."
Right. Okay. So if I might just have
It's
like one,
something.
if I may just have
Somebody
just
book
one
me,
quick one,
please.
right? Okay, I just got one quick one real quick. Just short and sweet. How are you still holding up on your home training or anything of the sport?
Yes, no.
I think all of us
um,
could say
I've
the
got-
same.
yeah, I've definitely put on some of the COVID-19, uh, or is it COVID-20? What is the joke? I don't know.
It's one
I
of the
definitely put on
two.
a couple. I put on a couple pounds, but I've gotten in the ring recently and hitting the ropes, bouncing. I'm still where I was when I left. I'm just a little heavier, little shorter on wind. But getting back in the ring now, training is be back in no time. The ground
Okay,
running.
so okay. Well, I mean, I hope I will be keeping track of your career in the future when it does pick back up. I will say that much.
Please
But
do.
I'm gonna hand it off to Vix for any final stuff.
So I was just gonna say, like, I'm sure once you get back out there, dude, it's gonna be amazing. Cause like I feel like it's gonna be like when you bottle good
Vix,
mead
your
and
audio is
you
cutting out.
Today, Junior.
Yeah.
yeah, hear me now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. I was gonna say it's just like a fine wine or fucking good whiskey. The longer you let it sit, the better it's gonna get. So um, just like fucking run and pull out
it's
the gate. Oh
Awesome.
man,
Awesome.
all the audio is getting twisted now. I think that's a sign to wrap up.
fine. Cut.
Got done. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, man. I really appreciate it. Uh,
Thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
it's been a pleasure, dude. And I look forward to seeing what your future holds and when your circuit comes back in.
and I want
Hey,
to.
cool. Hey, real quick before I go, guys, buy your Ethan Essex t-shirts on teespring.com. Just search the name and the shirt will come up. That'll help me out a lot. And make sure you have your shirts for by December 4th. Don't quote me on that. Just buy the shirt.
And
And I'm sure do your best to promote Taboo as well and any
Absolutely.
of our other shows. And we'll do what we can to get some of your stuff out. I'm actually thinking about buying one
Awesome.
myself.
oh,
Awesome. Thank you.
and I want to thank everyone who's been watching tonight and
Thank you guys so
all
much.
our viewers in the future. I really appreciate it. Like I said at the start of the stream, it really means a lot to have so many people watching this shit as I like wing it.
Yeah, same.
But all right, then
Oh man.
I'm gonna if unless anybody else has anything to say to our viewers, I'm gonna cut stream.
Hasta luego, folks.